All right, now let's go through two examples to learn how to divide numbers in scientific notation, which is really almost the same procedure as multiplying. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight the coefficients of each of my numbers in my division problem that I'm dividing, the 8 and the 4. And that's my first step, is to go ahead and divide those coefficients. So the 8 is the first one, divided by 4, which is the second one, and I get a quotient of 2. Then I'm going to divide the powers of 10. So the power of 10 in my first number is 10 to the 8th power, and my power of 10 in the second number that I'm dividing by is 10 to the 5th power. A couple weeks ago, you learned about the quotient of powers property. And in the quotient of powers property, when you are dividing and the bases are the same number, you can subtract the exponents. So in this example, I'm going to subtract the 8 minus the 5, which results in an exponent of 3. So my quotient would be 10 to the 3rd power. And then I'm going to combine the quotient that I got when I divided my coefficients and the quotient that I got when I divided my powers of 10 into an expression that is in scientific notation. And once again, I want to double check to make sure my final answer is actually written in scientific notation. It's multiplication. The coefficient, or the first number, is 1 digit, and it's being multiplied by a power of 10. So in this example, my final answer is already written in scientific notation, so there's nothing else I have to do to convert it. Let's look at the last example that we're going to do together. Okay, 6.6 times 10 to the 4th power divided by 2.4 times 10 to the 6th power. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight my coefficients, and I am going to start by dividing those. 6.6 divided by 2.4, and you can definitely use a calculator on these. When I did that, I got 2.75. And then I'm going to divide my powers of 10. So my first power of 10 is 10 to the 4th power. My second power of 10 is 10 to the 6th power. Remember that when you are dividing and you have the same base, like we do here, this one we have a base of 10 for both, you can subtract the exponents. So it would be 10 to the power of, and I'm going to do 4 minus 6, which is negative 2. So the quotient after I have divided my powers of 10 is 10 to the negative 2nd power. So then I'm going to combine those together as an expression written in scientific notation. So I'm going to take the quotient of the coefficients when I divided, which is 2.75. This is going to work out nicely because it only has 1 digit to the left of the decimal, or one number that's in the ones place and nothing else to the left here. And then times 10 to the negative 2nd power. So my final answer is already in scientific notation. But just to give you a quick explanation again, because we only had one example where our result did not end up being already in scientific notation. So I'm just going to make one up right now. Let's say that after you divide, you end up with, I'm just making this up, 50.4 times 10 to the 3rd power. If this was your final answer, or not your final answer, but if this was your answer right after you did all the dividing of the coefficients and the powers of 10, you would have to do this step 4 that says convert it into scientific notation. So let me review how to do that one more time. So you're going to take this first number and you're going to write it in scientific notation, because right now 50.4 is not acceptable when writing in scientific notation. So I'm going to go ahead and write that as 5.04 times 10 to the positive 1st power. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring down this times 10 to the 3rd power. and I'm going to use the product of powers property and add the exponents. So to convert this to scientific notation, my final answer would be 5.04 times 10, and remember I'm going to add the exponents because I am multiplying, so times 10 to the 4th power. I hope that you're feeling more confident with multiplication and division of numbers in scientific notation. So go ahead now and you're going to try the practice problems on your own. You may definitely use a calculator. And then when you're finished doing them, trying them all on your own, I want you to go back and watch the 3rd video to go through the steps and to check your work. Revise your work if you made mistakes along the way.